Beneath your feet lies a labyrinth older than nations, a network of tunnels, shafts, and chambers carved by hands that understood survival meant going deep. From Roman aqueducts stretching miles underground to Welsh lead mines worked for 4,000 years, these subterranean arteries tell a story of human persistence that modern survivalists need to understand. When the Great War erupted in 1914, soldiers didn't just fight on the surface. They went below, transforming ancient mining knowledge into warfare's darkest frontier, creating underground cities where men lived like moles, breathing stale air thick with cordite and damp earth, their world reduced to flickering candlelight and the constant threat of burial alive. The Western Front's trench systems extended vertically as much as horizontally, with dugouts carved 30 feet deep into Flanders clay. Soldiers became instant miners, learning techniques passed down through centuries of mineral extraction. They understood that survival underground required reading the earth itself, recognizing stable chalk layers versus treacherous sand that could collapse without warning, just as ancient miners had in the lead works of Wales or the silver shafts of California's Sierra Nevada. British tunneling companies recruited coal miners from Durham and tin miners from Cornwall, men who knew instinctively how to shore timber supports, angle ventilation shafts, and recognize the subtle creaking that preceded catastrophic collapse. These dugouts became entire subterranean villages, complete with sleeping quarters, command posts, and aid stations, some extending hundreds of yards behind the front lines. The air hung heavy and close, perpetually damp, smelling of wet earth, unwashed bodies, and the acrid bite of sandbag burlap rotting in the moisture. Underground survival hinges on two invisible essentials: breathable air and drinkable water. World War I soldiers faced both challenges with ingenious fieldcraft adapted from mining traditions. Ventilation shafts disguised as shell craters or concealed in ruined buildings channeled fresh air into the depths using principles Roman engineers understood when building their subterranean aqueducts. Hand-cranked bellows, borrowed from blacksmith forges, pushed oxygen through canvas tubes into the deepest galleries. Water presented its own nightmare. The water table in Flanders sat just feet below the surface, and every tunnel risked becoming a tomb if pumps failed. Soldiers learned from ancient mine drainage techniques, creating sumps and installing hand pumps scavenged from abandoned farms. They collected condensation from tunnel walls, purified shell hole water through sand filters, and rationed every drop, with the discipline of men who understood that dehydration killed as surely as artillery. The constant seepage meant feet never dried, leading to trench foot, a condition that rotted flesh from bone and taught men the value of dry socks and frequent inspection, lessons any modern survivalist should tattoo on their soul. Light underground wasn't luxury, it was survival currency. Soldiers adapted carbide lamps from mining traditions, mixing calcium carbide with water to produce acetylene gas that burned with a steady, bright flame. When supplies ran short, they fashioned grease lamps from spent shell casings, floating bacon fat wicks in pools of rendered animal fat, techniques unchanged since medieval miners worked by tallow light. Food storage underground required understanding humidity and temperature. Bread molded within days in the damp, but tinned rations and hard biscuits survived. Men learned to cache supplies in the driest alcoves, elevated on salvaged duckboards, protecting their lifeline from rats that grew bold and enormous in the darkness, scavengers that ancient miners had battled for millennia. Stand at the entrance of any abandoned mine today, whether it's the yawning mouth of a Welsh lead working, or the sealed shaft of a California silver vein, and you're looking at a classroom in survival that spans 4,000 years. The soldiers of the Great War were the last generation to combine ancient mining wisdom with modern necessity, creating a synthesis of underground survival knowledge that remains relevant for anyone serious about preparedness. Their lessons echo in every prepper's bunker, every survival cache, every contingency plan that involves going to ground when the world above becomes untenable. Subscribe to Fieldcraft Chronicles and share this knowledge with those who understand that history's harshest lessons forge tomorrow's survival skills.